Welcome to another episode of Hutch on Hunting, and this is your host, Bruce Hutchin. And we're heading out to Arkansas or someplace out there. Anyway, we're going to connect with Steve Fuller, and he is the marketing manager for DRYSHOD. And if you haven't heard about DRYSHOD, well, you're going to hear a lot about it because they're a competitor in the outdoor space against lacrosse boots. And Steve's going to share a lot of information about DRYSHOD, plus his own personal company, the Hunting Grounds. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to be here. Yeah, we are. I'm actually located right on the Arkansas-Missouri line, so you are right there, spot on. I grew up in
Was I
Arkansas.
right? Because I
Yeah,
know
you
you
were.
you hunt in
I'm a
Arkansas.
stone throw away from it. I live in Missouri, grew up in Arkansas. The line's right down the road, so you're right
All
there.
right, we're good. We're good there.
Yep.
So, Steve, I don't know or didn't know anything about DRYSHOD until you jumped up on the radar and said, "Hey, I'd like to be on the show." So let's just start right there and talk to my guest. I mean my audience about DRYSHOD.
Well, we're relatively new. It's been out there about 4-ish years now, and it's they're a really good boot. I kind of got on the radar with them early on. They were just at the ATA show, and they had a couple of boots there. And I'm all about quality. I mean, I don't come from money, and so when I invest my money in something, I want something that lasts. And when they were at the ATA show, they basically showed me the technology that they have in their boots, and I was like, that's different. I could see that lasting and being better. From there, we grew a relationship. Now I run their marketing on there, but it really is a different boot that really has features that a lot of other boots do not have out there, that make them more comfortable, that make them last longer. And they originated from the original owner of Muck. They had um, you know left Muck, sold out, after his time was past where he could create something once again. He decided he wanted to make a better boot with better features, and that's where DRYSHOD originated.
So you mentioned a couple things, in marketing we talk about feature, advantage, and benefits. So let's just break that down specifically. Now, some have gussets and some have, zippers, and some are slip-ons, and some have different mills for, -10 to, 50, 60 degrees. So let's go into specifics about the boot. And because you made a bold statement, we're just the best out there. So tell the people why you're the best out there.
Well, yeah, so that's one thing too. A lot of people think that we just have a hunting boot or we just have a farm boot. Since we are kind of new to the space, people don't realize that we have a wide variety of boots. We have everything from fishing boots, we have steel-toed boots, we have industrial boots that you can wear pretty much in every kind of case of work that you have. Our biggest sales right now are, of course, the agricultural, and then probably the hunting. So yeah, that's the thing too. The variety that these guys have, the designer and the team and the owners have a background in boots, and they know what the customers need, and they listen to the customer, and they really try to provide that in the variety that we have. So we have gussets, we have fishing boots, we have fishing boots that have anti-slip bottoms, like I said, gusseted backs. We have stuff from extreme cold weather down to what we have called the Wixit Cool Clad lining inside. That's a really breathable air mesh material. That's great for the southern hunters, that they can have a rubber boot that's going to breathe a whole lot better than just like regular neoprene in a boot. So variety is there. We've got high boots, ankle boots. We've got slip-on shoes for like the gardeners, people doing their everyday chores around their house. And the technology, yeah, we can get into that if you want,
Yes,
but the
please.
technology,
I
yeah,
mean,
the
it's your
technology,
show.
yeah. Okay, well, the technology is there where these boots we're finding they just last longer. That's one thing. Everybody, when they put on a DRYSHOD, you'll notice an instant difference in how they feel. They fit really, really well. They're the slogan is the world's most wearable rubber boot, because some of those rubber boots just are not comfortable. They either flex too much or they flex too little, or they're too loose. These fit your feet well. They are very comfortable. They give you support where you need support, and don't where you don't need it. The one thing that I say, one of the biggest components of the DRYSHOD that really sets them apart is what nobody else is doing. And that's the hydrocoat technology. So the
And what is
hydrocoat,
that?
okay, so
Explain
that's
that.
different. So you have, neoprene, which is naturally just waterproof. You aren't going to get water in it. Well, when you combine all these components, the neoprene, the rubber overlays, they're combined with glues. A lot of those other boots don't have a hydrocoat technology that we integrate. So there's a fabric lining on your neoprene. That fabric still is absorbent of water. And what it can do is it can absorb that water, because that fabric is compressed against the neoprene, which then the rubber overlays are on top of that. And so there's a layer in there of fabric. That fabric can still absorb water. It can get down in there. It's going to break down your glues. It's going to start breaking down the bindings, or it's going to find somewhere that there's a hole, and you're going to start getting water inside of your boot. Well, with the hydrocoat, that's a thing that we do at the very beginning, and treat that fabric, and then literally your boot is 100% waterproof. If you get a DRYSHOD, I encourage you to do it right off the bat. When you get it, like, just go ahead and pour water on it and see how it just naturally, like, bubbles and rolls off. Like, it does not absorb into the boot at all, which that goes into just making the boot last longer. It's not going to break down over time. But a lot of these people now, a lot of our customers are going, hey, I've had this boot for 2-3 years and it's still a great boot. I wear it personally. I wear a DRYSHOD almost every single day. And, the life of them is depending on, how much you actually wear the boot. But I wear a boot every single day, almost all day, because I live that lifestyle out here in the country, and it fits my needs. So,
Now, what about sweating? So I'm down south and I sweat,
yep,
and then I'm up um early season, whitetail season. I'm in tree stand October 26th through the 10th of November. And so in the upper Midwest in Wisconsin, it can be warm.
right,
And
right.
then I've got to walk a couple hundred yards on the farm. There's no walk that's greater than a couple hundred yards, but
Yeah.
if I got to walk a couple hundred yards, then I've got to, my feet are going to sweat, even though if I have just a light polypro sock, I'm
Right.
still going to sweat. So how does DRYSHOD help me with that?
I think that's the biggest enemy when it comes to just like staying warm out there, especially for boots, is sweat. Like, it's moisture. And our boots are easy to roll down. We encourage people to roll them down. Now we've got, if you're like down south or your early season, we have some of our boots, early season boots, have the Wixit Cool Clad lining in it, which is very breathable material. We don't even rate them because they just aren't made to hold out the cold. Like, they're made to be breathable. And so we've got that variety, and then we've got just our regular, what we call our densoprene. It's just our regular boots that come with the mid-season insulation, basically. Those, here on the hunting grounds, we do the same thing. It's like, I might be going out early season and I want to wear that boot because it's going to get a little chilly towards the evening or early morning hours, but walking out, it gets warm. So roll those boots down, let them breathe. When you get the stand, let them breathe out for just a little bit. It can just be a few minutes, but don't retain all that heat, which is going to create sweat, which is moisture, which is going to get your feet colder. Then simply roll them up. But we've also got, if you are like up north or you're only hunting cold weather, we have our polar fleece lining boots as well. So we've got a boot pretty much for every weather condition. But the biggest thing is control moisture, and that can be simply, knocked out just by rolling down your boot while you're walking in, while you're doing that activity, and then rolling them up and not capturing all that moisture in there.
Now, all these boots are expensive.
Yep.
There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And you can just go any place you want, from Bass Pro, Amazon, the Cabela's of the world, and Big R, I think of the outlets. And so how do you justify buying a 200 pound, $200
Yeah.
boot? How do you justify that?
That's one thing I'd encourage people to do. I won't name too many names out there, but there's just a lot of boots out there that aren't built to last, and that's why they've gone the extra mile with the Hydra coat. And we've got some new features coming out. We just last year released our Evolution sole, which is, it's revolutionary in the hunting industry as well as far as boots, because comparable to any boot that's out there on the market, the Evolution boots are almost a pound per pair lighter than anything out there. They're a more athletic outsole. We're always developing, trying to, it seems like, take it to the next level, develop something new that's going to just perform better. But that's what you're getting with DRYSHOD. You're getting those extra benefits of these little things that are going to put us in the same price point as everybody else, but you're getting a better features, which is going to make your boot last longer. They just don't break down as fast, and that you're getting all the features as well. So that's how I judge it, because I need something that's going to last. I don't want something that's going to last one season. I come back in the next season, it's cracked, it's dried out, parts are separating. I need it to perform multiple seasons kind of without question. And that's what I get out of my DRYSHODs. I get multiple seasons out of them, and I'm a guy that's going to wear them every single day, majority of the day. So the wearability of them and how long you can wear them is definitely there with DRYSHOD. So it's an investment that's not just going to last a season. It's going to last you a good amount, depending on how much you wear the boots.
Now, I fish offshore. I fish out of San Diego. I catch tuna. And when the bite is wide open, I mean, it's a bloody depth. I mean, they're just literally bloody depths. And
Right.
so, I have some um, boots that were made for the slaughterhouse.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they're made for,
Mhm.
non-slip sole. And I
Right.
didn't buy the fancy high dollar Huck boots or whatever, just whatever you want to look at. And then this year I went to a low cut because I said, man, I just don't need these these high, mid calf boots anymore.
Right.
And enough people were wearing these low cuts. I said, that's really all I need. Because sometimes if we're south, it's 80 degrees out there, I'll fish in my sandals,
Right.
and just wash them off, and the blood's gone, so I don't care. But when it gets stormy or it's just cooler, then I wear boots. Now this year I bought a pair of boots. They really weren't that comfortable. So I gave them to my buddy and they fit him better, so they were comfortable. Now, what do you have for fishermen on, we're talking tuna fishing, out of San Diego,
Yeah.
5 days, 10 days, whatever it is. But they have to be two things. They have to be, one, able to take, bloody decks, and two, they got to be comfortable because you're on your feet 10
Right.
hours a day.
Right.
So do you have a pair of boots that does that?
We do. We got some sea monsters. We got slip knots. We got our fishing variety, and that we're working on some more there as well. But they have the anti-slip. They have the Wixit Cool Clad lining in them, because they are more fully rubberized boot. Because you're going to get that. You're going to sometimes, if they're cleaning the deck, they're going to have chemicals. They're going to have
Right. The
blood. Whatever.
deckhands do. I mean, they use
Right.
bleach. I mean,
Right. And you need a boot that's going to keep up with that. And we have those boots that are more, designed for chemicals use and everything, and that do have the anti-slip. We have those, and they're very comfortable. That's one thing they don't skimp out in, because I think a lot of there's a misconception out there that just lighter, and the lighter boot the better kind of deal. There's boots out there that are super duper light that have no support. There's a happy medium in there where you have a boot that's too rigid, that doesn't give you any movement, and it restricts you, and it's hindering. And then you have the boots that give too much that you're going to feel every single thing that you step on, every ladder rung that you step on, you're going to feel that through your shoe. And it's going to make it uncomfortable. So in a lot of our boots, or every boot, it's a variety between like a nylon shank and a steel shank in it. So you'll see, our boots do have flex to them, but they give you support where you need, and it's going to help you. They're designed if you're going to be standing on your feet all day, if you're going to be going up and down ladder rungs, steps, or whatever. They give you the support you need, but without giving you so much support that it restricts your movement, that it makes it not comfortable. So yeah, you'll see that in our boots. There's a lot of extra features in there. They've really gone a long way there. But we have all that. We have fully rubberized boots exactly for that people use in the slaughterhouses, whether they're there or they're on a boat. I went out a couple of years ago and we did a film shoot out there off the ocean. First time for them wearing I think they were sea monsters and the slip knots. And they had some competitors on at the time put these on, and they said there was more support. They just said they were more comfortable, and they absolutely loved them. So yeah, once you put them on, you're going to feel the difference for sure, no matter which variety that you put on.
So, folks, I know this is Hutch on hunting, but if I wanted to, I could do Hutch, long range fishing with Hutch. But think about that, because your feet, just like when you're hunting in the mountains or hunting any place, your feet get you from here to there. If your feet go not supported by a good boat, then your hunt's over and your
Right.
fishing trip could be over. And that's just the way it is. And fishing trips, it's wet. So you get a boot that doesn't fit, and then you get moisture in there, you're going to get guaranteed blisters. And you're going to be fishing in your sandals, which maybe is the right thing to do, and maybe it's not. So just think about that. And how do people get a hold of DRYSHOD? Where do they go to?
You can go to DRYSHOD USA. We're in a lot of brick and mortar stores out there, period. But DRYSHOD USA is a great spot to go and just check out the full variety, because we're in a lot of mom and pop stores. We're in a lot of brick and mortar stores, but they don't have every variety. So if you want to see what variety that we do have, go to our website. And then we've got like our dealer locator and everything on there. But I think you hit on the key point there. Like, if you're not comfortable, if your feet aren't comfortable, that's usually the first thing that's going to tap people, whether on their fishing trip or a hunting trip. Keeping your feet dry, comfortable, is one of the biggest things for sure.
And it is important, folks.
Yeah.
So, Steve, thank you for, teeing up DRYSHOD. And how long have you been there?
This is going like 3 years with me now. So like I started just as a customer that just I wore the product and was sold instantly, because I hunt all the time. I've worn every rubber boot out there, and when I put these on, I saw something that was different, and so I'm blessed to be able to like work with them now in another way, because it's a product that I believed in enough that I was willing to do that. So.
Well, let's talk about Steve the Hunter in Arkansas. And in your bio that you shared with me, you said, you proved a lot of people wrong that there weren't trophies
Yeah.
in Western Arkansas. So let's unpack that a little bit.
Oh yeah, I've been doing the hunting grounds for over 10 years now. It just kind of started for fun. I've got degrees in conservation, wildlife management, and field biology, and after college, didn't really know where God was leading me, and I was actually a teacher for a couple of years, a science teacher, and just felt like I was so frustrated with things. I'm always watching hunting shows. I've watched them since I was a kid, but got frustrated seeing people spend a lot of money, or they either had a lot of money to spend on management and hunting, or big land, or a lot of land. I did not have either. And so I wanted to show people how to like cost effectively manage small portions of property and better your hunting experience, better your deer numbers, your turkey numbers, whatever. And from then it's grown astronomically. I didn't figure I'd be where I'm at. We reach tens of millions of people every single year. And I basically take people through. Now I own 110 acres here in the very corner of Southwest Missouri, right up against the Arkansas line. And I show people how to to manage it, from timber stands improvements to edge feathering, food plots, prescribed burn, kind of redeveloping and planting native species, or trying to bring the native species back, and then trying to hunt it and showing people how I can increase the deer population. I can kill better bucks, and I probably had one of the best seasons that I've ever had. Like this last year, I killed 4 bucks, and I think overall, I think I was like probably somewhere between 500, 550 inches or so in 3 weeks that I had laid down between 4 bucks. And that's between Arkansas, Missouri. I ended up traveling to Indiana. I got one out there as well. But it just goes to show that, working hard, doing these tactics, you're going to increase the amount of deer that you see, which is fun. It's what I really love to do, is just get out there and watch deer and see them interact with my management techniques. But when I have the opportunity to kill a bigger buck on a piece of property that I've developed, that means a lot more than me just walking out into some lot of woods and getting lucky and sitting next to a tree and shooting a 180 plus. I've killed some good bucks around here, and for Southwest Missouri and Northwest Arkansas, I've killed multiple 150-ish buck, a lot of 140 plus 130s, but yeah.
Say you're throwing some numbers out there. And yesterday I had the executive director, Pope and Young. Are you a member of Pope and Young?
No, I'm not a member.
Why not?
I support it. I've never been big on scoring bucks. I don't even know how many bucks I've killed. A lot. And I've officially probably had only 3 of my deer ever scored. We've rough scored some here and there. Usually if I do get them scored, it's like they're at the bow shop and someone's there that scores, and they're like, "Hey, can I score your deer?" And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, go ahead and score it." Score is not usually a big thing for me. It's usually I look for a mature deer. I want the oldest deer possible. It's just like I like the thrill of that chase of trying to get on an old mature deer. They're just a different animal. But yeah, I'm not a member of it, but yeah, I've had some deer scored, but not very many, just a handful.
And the reason Justin Spring, who is the executive director, I have been fortunate. I've killed some bull elk that are Pope and Young because
Nice.
I've scored them myself. And
Right.
then on the farm, off the farm in Wisconsin, and then a couple of Iowa bucks, blah, blah, blah. A number of bucks that were over 125. Some
Yeah.
were in the 30s and 40s. And my biggest buck would, was a rifle, was out of Saskatchewan. So that was my biggest buck. But anyway, and the reason he said, Bruce, we need that data. We need data points. And he said, in the world we live in today, there's so many people fighting against our right to hunt, just the hunting tradition, that the more data we can have and support the North American model of wildlife conservation with scientific data, that on your 100 acres, here's where you started off 10 years ago, and here's where your average was. You were
Yeah.
killing 120 bucks, 125. And now you just said basically a short period of time, you put 500 inches of bone on the ground. Um, that's pretty good. And so the data points, he says, if for no other reason you don't want your name in the book, because I told him, I said, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I like killing deer.
Right.
I've killed a bunch of them. And every once in a while I get lucky. I figure it out, or a buck makes a mistake. I think it's more the
Yeah.
buck makes a mistake than me being that
Yeah.
good.
I agree.
But anyway, and he said, just think back. I've been hunting the same farm since 1966. And if you had just just your bow kill, not your gun kills, but your bow kills, all that data, it would tell a story about that farm.
Right.
It would definitely tell the story about that farm. And I said, and I had never thought about it that way. And he's a wildlife biologist. He's got his master's, he understands the science,
Right.
certainly more than I do. So, one of my mantras now is when I have people on the show, I said, how many, Pope and Young bucks? Well, I've killed a lot of deer, blah, blah, blah. And to give a shout out for Pope and Young to help them combat what's happening in our lives, the tradition of hunting, because we're in the fire. There's no question about it. And the more data they have, and he called them data points, the more data we have from specific areas, then we can work with DNRs, we can work with people, the lobbyists, to say, wait a minute, we've been doing this. And back in the 50s where I hunted, we had basket bucks. They weren't even 100 inches,
Right.
we had basket bucks. And now the biggest we've taken off in the near term was a 180 class deer. Uh, One of the cousins got that. And then another nephew, he shot a 142. I scored that last year. Just a gorgeous buck. And he's not an intense hunter. He's got a plot of land. He's got a perfect saddle.
Yeah.
All he has to do is go and sit 2 or 3 days during the
Behind
rut,
it.
and
Yeah.
he's gonna shoot a deer. You
Yeah.
know, and it's 20 acres. That's all it is, but it's a perfect locale, and that's why they bought it, because it is perfect. And I
Yeah.
hunt about 200 or 300 acres around that saddle. It's on a ridge, and the ridge is owned by other people other than the farmer.
Yeah.
And so, all he has to do is just go there at the right times, and he's going to kill a deer.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And so when you start getting data points, folks, it's important, for the science. And we're fighting a battle right now in Colorado. Save the Hunt Colorado. If you're interested, you can support us, because they're trying to pass a ban by the voters, not science, by the voters, to ban cat hunting in Colorado, mountain lions and bobcats and lynx. And you can't kill lynx now, anyways, but they threw that in. So they're radical anti-hunters that don't want us to have the hunting tradition. So go
Right.
to Save the Hunt Colorado and help us fight that battle. Are you involved in that at all? Have you heard much about that at all?
I've heard about it, but I'm not involved in it. But I think you do bring a good point up about the Pope and Young and stuff. Like that's just, I mean, it's good information even for me to know that they're interested in that kind of stuff. For me, I'm sitting here grinding it out all the time on my property, and I see the change that my management practices have had an impact on here. I've seen my deer numbers increase. I've seen the bucks increase in size, and if people are interested in that data, I think it's part of our hunters, the hunter's job to put that out there, to give them basically ammo, to bring to the table. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I appreciate hearing that, because something that I can also look into to see if I can help out in any way there.
Yeah, it might be something that DRYSHOD might reach out to Justin Spring and say, "Hey, Justin, I was on Hutchin Hunting. He mentioned that he had talked to you, and how can we help?"
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And if I do that 50 times this year, and people say, "Yeah," a couple of people raise their hand, that's going to help him,
Yeah.
which I didn't. He just became September 23. He just became the new executive director. So they got some really positive changes, not saying that Pope and Young wasn't doing a good job, but
Yeah.
things change, and you got to change with the times.
Oh yeah.
And that's what he's doing. So
That's
that's a
good.
good shout out for Pope and Young.
Yeah, right.
So are you shooting traditional recurve crossbow, or how do you hunt?
I recurve. Not recurve. I just compound is what I do. So I do anything. I've got a recurve, starting to play around with that. Anything that's in season, I try to do. So I started off just with a rifle. Dad sitting me next to the tree, and that's what I started off with. So I killed a good amount of deer with rifle. I've probably killed more deer than anything almost now with a muzzleloader or a bow. It used to be a muzzleloader, but I've killed a lot of deer now with a bow. But in between those two, anything that's in season that gives me an advantage, I'm going to try to take it, because it's I'm no more prouder to shoot it with a bow than I am with a gun, as long as I put my time in, kind of deal.
How many days a year do you hunt?
It's not as much as people would think. This year I probably put in a little bit more time. I really don't calculate how much. And it all is weather dependent. You know, I work from home. And so if it's just not going to be good conditions, I just put my time in working. That way, when the conditions are going to be right in a couple of days, I can put, 2 or 3 days of hunting in and come back and work in the afternoons or evenings there. Um, I'm not for sure. It just sometimes it's a couple of days a week, and sometimes if the week is absolutely miserable, weather conditions are not right, I focus on getting other things done, because to me, I absolutely love hunting, and I don't want to get out there so much in so many bad times. For one, I don't like to overpressure things. I'm very careful on how I hunt my areas. But the other thing is I just don't want to get burnt out, so yeah, I make sure that I enjoy it the whole time. I make sure I put in enough time with my family and my friends. And then that was one thing this year. I think that was one of the biggest things I learned is I had just new things arise in my life that were priorities this year, that I had to reallocate time a lot this deer season. And then when I found the time, I went hunting, and it was a very rough season this season. I didn't even kill a deer until November 27th. After all my time, kept a positive attitude, and just knew that there was a lot of stuff that I had to put time in that was not hunting. And I just, prayed that I was hopefully going to get, that back in return. And then November 27th, I shot 2 bucks in one sit. That next week, I shot another buck. And then after traveling, I went to Indiana that week, and then got back a week and a half later, and, tagged my buck here in Missouri. So, uh, people are like, man, you had the best season of your life. And I did. It was only 3 weeks long, and it took like most of the season to get there. But afterwards, it was the best season. So you just had to grind it out.
And you do have to grind it out.
Yeah.
And I know guys that they have their journal and they have specific stands. And if the wind isn't 100% right, coming out 180 degrees, 145 degrees, if the temperature isn't right, if the moon phase isn't right, and there isn't a cold front
Yeah.
coming or going, they don't hunt that stand.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that's how I'm going to
Yeah.
say, anal it is,
Right.
but it's pretty much guys have it down, and they might only hunt a stand one time a year.
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah.
have multiple stands, obviously,
Yeah.
but one stand they'll go in, because I don't know if you found this and to be true, but the first set on that stand's the best opportunity to shoot a buck, a
Right.
mature buck,
Right.
not a buck, a
Yeah.
mature buck. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
I think it's true. I mean, it just goes to overpressuring. Like, I think it's because you haven't overpressured, you haven't sent that area up, you've not busted deer going in and out, and it's a little different versus, I do some public land, especially when I travel. I do public land, and it's different with my private land here. Because I've got my spots here. I know when they're good. I have my own time. I'm not too worried about somebody getting in there, slipping in on my deer. And so I'm going to be a little bit more cautious of going in there and waiting for that right time to sit in the stands on my place. And a lot of times, yeah, because I have waited and I haven't unpressured, or I haven't pressured that area, it is unpressured. Like when I get in there, it usually is the first hunt, first day or two of the hunt is probably the best. But if I'm doing public land, I'm going to, it's a little different there, especially if I'm traveling. I have 3 days. I'm going to figure out a way to hunt it in those 3 days. The wind might not be right, but I'm going to use that to my advantage and set up somewhere else, that something more different, trying to intercept those same deer or whatever. I want to be a little bit more aggressive, but I can be a little bit more relaxed on my private ground here, and go in when the conditions are best, honestly.
And that should be a takeaway for everybody listening, is this could be true for elk hunting, could be mule deer hunting, whitetail hunting, any type of hunting you're doing. Set the situation up for your success,
Yeah.
not just say, I'm going to go sit my stand tonight. That's
Right.
the wrong. If you have that mentality, don't do it.
Yeah.
Go someplace else.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's what a lot of people do, honestly.
I agree.
I do some consulting here and there, just like going to properties and tell them what management practices and kind of setting up a plan. And a lot of times that corresponds with like how they hunt. I'm not just going in and being like, hey, I think you need to do a TSI in this area and reduce the timber so much. But I'm going in there and I'm asking them like, how are you hunting? Like, well, when I want to hunt, this is my favorite spot. I come sit here. I sit here no matter what. And I'm like, you're on your own piece of ground, like you can wait to hunt that spot when the conditions are right and then not blow out that spot, because simply walking in and walking out, I don't care if you don't physically see a deer spook or hear a deer spook, you're pressuring that area. You're leaving some kind of scent, some kind of disturbance. And, you're better off just kind of sticking out of there until the conditions are right and slipping in there. And the odds are going to be a whole lot better. You're going to have a much better hunt for sure.
So listen to that and check yourself, because we're in March, basically tomorrow. And so, season, you got a while to go. Maybe September is when they open up, or October at the latest. And so, plan. And that's with my hutch on hunting, consulting, I tell people the most important thing you can do is plan the time from when you leave till you get home, and plan each segment of it. Yes, plan your gas stops, plan, okay, what am I going to do if I have a flat tire on Interstate 80 or 70, and what are you going to do? How are you going to do that? And so if it happens at 3 a.m. in the morning, you go, oh, yeah, okay, here's the plan. Boom. You got it taken care of. And so the more you reduce your exposure, risk management, basically,
Yeah.
that's what it's called. You, you reduce that, the more comfortable, the more confident you are. And it's the same thing when you get to the trailhead or you get to wherever you're going to camp. Out here in the Rockies, it's big country, folks. I mean, and elk live in hellacious places, beautiful places, but they're hellacious. And it's tough hunting. It's not easy to go from Flatlander. I don't know what the elevation is at your house, 500 feet,
Yeah.
800 feet.
Yeah, we're in now there, but we have steep terrain. I'll tell you that. We're in the Ozarks, so it's
Oh,
bluff,
right in the
steep
Ozarks.
hillside. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got some hills.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
you got some hills, but they're not 14,
No,
14ers
no,
or
no.
10,000 feet or 11,000
No.
feet. And that's, I try to have people paint a picture and prepare themselves.
Yeah.
And it's no different than, I tell people the most important thing they can have equipment wise is a good pair of boots.
Yeah.
Broken in boots, good pair of boots. Because without that, your hunt is taken care of. So in the last segment of the show, I want to talk about the hunting grounds. And you have faith, you're a man of faith. You've
Yeah.
mentioned God a couple of different times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so how do you intertwine that with the hunting grounds?
That's one thing when I started, it's like I felt like God led me to do this. He's literally set up everything and has really driven the whole process. But for me, a lot of times, hunters and men in general can be not. I mean, there's women that hunt too, but men in general sometimes can be the hardest people to approach about faith, and to have that common ground. So that's what the hunting grounds is. A lot of times, we reach out to a lot of youth and we hunt with a lot of just different people. We just recently did a hunt giveaway. We were up in Nebraska. We partnered with the outfitter group, Pro Outfitters, and we did a hunt giveaway because I really try to give back a bunch. They don't have to pay anything, they just literally just because they watch our show, I want to give away a hunt and they want a snow goose hunt. So we did that. But the hunting grounds, like that's our thing, is like everything that we do, even from like managing, in the Bible it says, to subdue the earth and to rule over the birds of the air and fish of the sea and stuff. So what we're doing management wise is a way to connect with people. So when I'm out there, it gives me a way to say, hey, like I'm not just managing because it's fun for me, but God's put us in here and put us here to rule these and to manage them and to pass them on to future generations. And it builds a connection there. I try to not overly push my faith on my show because a lot of times that gets pushes people away. And so I just try to, integrate it in where I can, and have um, very normal, easy conversations that lead into where they are, or what they believe in. And a lot of time it organically happens. I don't even have to try it. We get there all the time, and I'm pretty happy about that. But it's a big part of our show, just because, for one, God's put me here and done this show for that reason, I believe. And it's been our foundation since day one. So
How long has the show been up?
I've been doing it for, gosh, it's like almost 13 years, I guess. So it's been over 10 years. It's about 13 years. I just started. We're all online. We do it on YouTube. We have our videos on YouTube. Facebook's big for us. We have a few 100,000 followers on there, and we reach millions organically a month on Facebook. And we're on Instagram, and we're working on some other platforms. But I've got, I think, over 800 plus videos on YouTube. Anything from like showing TSI, prescribed burns, food plots. We show our turkey hunts. There's some fishing videos on there, lots of deer hunts, and it's very candid. So it's almost like I try to have the hunters that watch the show feel like they're there with me. So I'm bringing them right along, taking them through the process, talking to them as I go kind of deal. And it's not like the overly produced cinematic, I'm out here, look at this buck, I shoot it, and I'm done. I'm going to take you through the process. I'm going to show you how I'm sneaking in. I'm going to show you why I'm sneaking in the way I am, the food plot that we're in. Maybe it's the acorn tree that we're sitting in. I'm going to show you the setup around it. And we show you success and failures on it, both. I mean, if you want to watch me miss deer, that's on there as well. And then there's a lot of me, getting deer on the same time. I've got a good group of guys too. I've got about 7 staffers from Minnesota down to Georgia, Alabama, and they all contribute to the channel. And it's cool because some of them are only public land, some are private and public, only private. And they're hunting mountains to ag fields. It's a wide variety that we get to put out there. So we're really trying to educate people. Like I've came up with the term. I was thinking it was one of the first ones to ever say it, period. But we have a semi-live show. So throughout our season right now, we're starting to do management. I've been doing timber stand management. I'm knocking that out within that week. So what I'm doing on our show, whether it's management, food plots, turkey hunting, deer hunting, it's relevant. It's being produced and put out there ASAP. So hopefully you can use our tips and tricks that we're using to hopefully help you be successful.
Now, how does somebody find your show?
Yep. Just go to YouTube, type in the Huntin Grounds. There's no G on hunting because I'm from Arkansas. So we say hunt, not hunting, but you can go just on YouTube, type the Huntin Grounds. Same thing on Facebook, Instagram. We're at THG TV.
So let's wrap it up. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I think we hit on a lot of stuff. Some stuff I even learned
Yes,
on
we did.
as far as Hope and Young, and definitely going to look into that. But final thoughts. If you want to check out a boot that's comfortable and that's going to last you, that you can invest and feel secure in investing in, check out DRYSHOD. I'll tell you one of my favorite ones I'm wearing right now. I got them right beside me because I just slipped them off. It's the new Evolution.
Well, reach them up because this will be on in a while.
Yep.
I've got to be on. I'll have my YouTube channel.
You'll probably like this because you mentioned it. This is the Evolution. This is an ankle boot. This is my go-to every single day. And I brought the other one. This is their Evolution Hunt. So it's a typical higher story rubber boot with a neoprene. But these have the brand new Evolution outsoles. They're really an athletic outsole on a rubber boot.
Like a cross trainer?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix there because you have flexibility. It is quieter. I'll tell you the Evolutions series, period. So if you take a comparable rubber boot in the market per pair, these are going to be almost a pound lighter, which is, if you're walking even a half mile to your stand, quarter mile to your stand, a half pound lighter per boot that you're picking up and putting down every step, it makes a big difference. You'll notice it as soon as you put them on. But yeah, they're quieter because there is a little bit more give in the sole. They're super comfortable. Like everybody that has put these on, we came out with them last year. It's been a game changer. Like they won't put anything else on. It's noticeably different as soon as you put them on. But yeah, like I said, that's my go-to every day. It's got junk on the bottom of it, but because it's got the ankle, so it's well, it's a little bit above ankle, but it's super breathable because it is open around your foot. Where these you can roll down super easy. We talked about that you can. I've still got paper in this. We talked about that you can roll these down, and that's like the biggest thing that people do not do. They think that you always have to have a rubber boot rolled up, but these are easy to roll down. And when you roll them down, you can roll them down, walk to your stand. When you get to stand, let them breathe out for a little bit. Let your foot cool down, because the main thing that's going to make your foot ever get cold is moisture. That's the key thing. So once your foot's breathed out a little bit, go ahead and roll this up, and you're going to have a lot more comfortable set. So
Yeah, on my fishing boots, mine are rolled down. I don't have them all the way up anymore.
Right. And then we have the ankle for the fishing boots too. So we have you probably want to check out our slip knot boot. It's an ankle boot, and it's a really, really nice, comfortable anti-slip boot that's breathable. So you'll like it.
And then why don't you just recap the hunting ground?
The Huntin Grounds, yeah. If you're interested in seeing management techniques on small property, we're average Joes that are doing tips and tricks that everybody else can do, and you want to see real hunts, public land, private land, whatever, we have that on our channel, and we produce it. As soon as we do something, we produce it every week if we can. During the season, there's sometimes we're releasing 3 videos a week on YouTube. So check them out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and join in on the fun. It's fun. You'll laugh at us. You'll probably get stressed with us, and we're okay with that. If you want to laugh at us missing, but it's a real hunt, and we don't fake nothing on there. We don't go back in and reshoot clips and put them in our videos. It's what you get is how the hunt is.
And folks, thanks for joining another episode of Hutch on Hunting. This is Bruce Hutchin, wishing you a fantastic day.